Hi, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for clicking, as I always say, but I really do mean it. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to be trying out this UV resin brand, Sanaaa. I'm very excited. I think I'm going to make some jewelry. I have just recently gotten into UV resin and I think it's so cool to watch a project cure almost instantly versus over a day or a couple of days. Thank you so much to Sanaaa for collaborating with me on this video. I won't bore you with a long intro. Let's get into it.
Alright, let's get started. The first thing I did, of course, was open up this bottle. Here is how it looks. For this project, you're going to need an open bezel, some flowers, black chalk paint, a paintbrush, the UV resin you're going to be using, and you can use a silicone mold for this if you don't have a silicone mat. Just make sure it's shiny on the inside. Your UV curing lamp is also important. So I started off by very lightly painting the flowers black, and I do it lightly because of course the flowers are delicate and break apart easily. And once that is done, I flip it over and do the other side. Once the first side is dry, I put the bezel on this silicone mold and pushed it down, and then I added a layer of clear UV resin just to make sure the flowers are going to be fully coated on the back. Used my heat gun to pop any bubbles and this toothpick to pick out bubbles that I could see. I cured that layer a couple of times. I did a few rounds under the UV light, and then I was trying to decide exactly how I wanted to place the flowers in, and I kind of liked the stems showing. It reminded me of veins in an actual heart, so I thought that was really cool. And then I coated that in UV resin. I cured that front bit under the lamp for a few rounds, and then I flipped the mold over to also cure it from the back just to make sure that everything is nice and solid. And then of course it's time to take it off. Oh my gosh, I was obsessed with how it turned out. I think it's so cute and very much something I would wear personally. I added a jump ring to the open bezel and then added that to the necklace. I don't know what you would call this, the chain, whatever it is. I decided to go with black because I thought it would all match very cohesively. Let's get started with our second project. I'm going to be making guitar picks. Again, I just started with a layer of clear UV resin to make sure that all the flowers and plants I put in are going to be cured all the way around. And I'm sorry for how repetitive this is going to sound, but I did cure that first layer a couple of rounds under the light and then started placing my flowers and plants into the mold. And now I'm just coating all of that with UV resin on top. I think that UV resin is so cool because it cures within a couple of minutes, and I'm used to working with epoxy resin, which can take 24 hours to cure or a couple of days depending on what you're working with. So I think this is such a fun way to get things done faster, and it's a little more efficient. I did do one more layer also on top just to make sure everything was going to be all coated. Guitar picks turned out pretty thick because of this, but I think I would just probably sell these as keychains. Maybe I will turn them into keychains one day. And again, just flipping over the mold and curing it from the back of the mold. Now let's take them out. I think they look so cute, and I think that this brand of resin has a very clear finish, like a crystal clear finish, I mean. And so I just removed any excess resin that ended up on the guitar picks. Now on to our third and final project. I decided to use some of these powder pigments mixed with UV resin to make some hair clips. I find with UV resin it doesn't mix with colors too well if you use a lot, whereas epoxy I don't really find it makes a difference how much color I mix in, so just be mindful of that. I added that into the mold and I filled the mold about halfway. I cured that first layer, and then it was time to add the flower as well as the rest of the color, so I just placed that on top and filled the rest of the mold and also mixed in the clear resin together. I used the heat gun just to blend them a little bit better and pop any bubbles. Taking that out of the mold after a couple of rounds under the light on each side, I love how it looks. I was super happy with this turnout. And now let's make one more thing, a pink hair clip. I just did the same process, filling the mold about halfway, curing that, adding the flower, and adding the rest of the colors. This is a huge tip. I actually used to super glue the hair clips onto the top piece, but I've now decided to try UV resin. I think I saw it in a video somewhere, and this is great because then it doesn't have that chalky finish that super glue can kind of create on resin or maybe in general. But this was a game changer for me. Using UV resin to attach the hair clip to this top piece was so much better. Kind of hard to center it perfectly since obviously this is a handmade item, but just do the best you can and kind of eyeball it. Everybody knows it's not going to be perfect when it's a handmade item. Alright, let's look at the final products. I was so happy with everything I made. I also really genuinely enjoyed this UV resin. I'm not just saying that. The smell wasn't too bad and it cured very well. I think that the finish was very crystal clear, minimal bubbles, but of course you're never going to have any bubble-free resin. But I know some people complain about the smell with UV resin, and I didn't find this one was bad at all, so just to keep that in mind. This is everything. Let me know which is your favorite, the guitar picks, the necklace, or the hair clips. I'm very curious to know. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Sanaaa Resin for collaborating with me on this video. I thoroughly enjoyed using your resin. Thank you again for being here with me today, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!